This is Coach Jason Ballard, and I'm a business wingman. Over the years, I've learned a lot from working in our family construction business, serving as a senior officer in the United States Air Force, and running 12 different organizations around the world. Many people helped me get to where I am today, and it's my mission in life to serve as a personal wingman to others. That's what this podcast is all about, providing knowledge, tools, resources, and mentorship to help people soar to their highest altitude. Welcome back to the Soar Higher podcast. This is your host, Coach Jason Ballard, and we're excited to be with you in this new year. Got a lot of wonderful things lined up. Got a great guest on the show today talking about some really powerful and important things that are affecting a lot of people out there. Things that you may not really think about, may not be on the 6 o'clock news, but it exists, and it's plaguing a lot of us. And so today we're going to be talking about what's the most important thing in life. We're talking about your health, right? If you don't have your health, mental health, physical health, then you really don't have a whole lot to offer people. You can't really help people or do good in the world if you're laid up in the hospital or just on the sidelines, burned out, or in a negative place, right? So today we're talking about your health. Mental, physical, spiritual, holistic health, how to be your best self, how to deal with things in life that may not go your way or meet challenges that you may not expect, deal with things that really pull on you and put you in a place where maybe you're uncomfortable or it drives unhappiness or displeasure, how to engage, how to overcome, how to win, how to be victorious and achieve balance, achieve happiness in life, not only just professionally, but personally as well, right? Because there's no such thing in business as a business problem not rooted in a personal challenge, right? We are not different people when we show up. Like things that bother us in our personal world shows up at the business. Things that bother us in the business shows up in our personal world, right? We're all the same people. And we've got an outstanding expert, a person that's doing some amazing things to help people in the world deal with these types of challenges. And so I want to introduce Owen Marcus to you on this podcast. So let me tell you a bit about Owen. He's the co-founder of an organization called MELD, MELD. It stands for Men's Emotional Leadership Development, based out of Nevada City, California, where they provide executive coaching and training and facilitate all kinds of different types of events focused on men's health and helping them overcome things like burnout, isolation, being lonely at the top, where they lack fulfillment, where they're challenged beyond their capabilities, relationship issues, all of these different types of things, so they can live a high quality of life, be their best self, so they can show up every day as their best self. And so, Owen, you're doing some amazing things out there. There's some underlining things going on in the workforce out there and in life in general, right? There's a lot of fast moving parts. The world is turning faster and faster and faster. Leaders, especially, feel like they're kind of in a pressure cooker sometimes. All the responsibilities on them. They are afraid to fail. They experience lots of different things at different times and find themselves in places where they just may not be thriving and achieving their maximum potential. And so you're doing some amazing work there. So tell us a little bit about you and your background and how you got to where you are today in this work and why that's important to you.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, I got into it, bottom line, because I needed it. I was pretty stressed, uptight, disconnected, and a hard worker, but not really happy with what I was doing. The good part was I sort of fell into this at a younger age. To make the story short, I had a roommate who'd given up his law practice 8 years, was living with us in Boulder, Colorado, encouraged me to get into essentially the somatic or body therapies, the physical ones and the psychotherapies. And I resisted, like most of us, particularly us guys, resist something like that. And he argued a good case. And I just said, all right, if I agree to try it, will you shut up? He said, okay, I'll shut up. You just try it. And he knew I'd be hooked. And so decades later, we're where we're at. My first thing was I moved from Boulder down to Phoenix and ended up opening up an integrated medical clinic. Worked with a lot of stressed out people in many different capacities, elite athletes, Olympic athletes, professional athletes. But most of my clients have always been professionals, physicians, attorneys, a lot of entrepreneurs, C-level executives. As you said, a lot of stressed out people that were being successful, but either because of stress or the success wasn't really giving them what they wanted, um, they'd find a way to our clinic, and through different ways of working with their bodies, we would lower their chronic stress, but more importantly, sort of change a stress cycle and teach them and their bodies, how to utilize the stress response. And that is something that made them tenser or more stressed or less effective, but actually more effective. And then that just progressed over the last 30 years of me working more and more exclusively with men in men's groups and men's trainings and 3 different companies where we train men in these what should be things that we were trained as kids, but we never had trained is how to use our own somatic awareness, what we feel in our bodies as a portal, as a clue to what we're feeling emotionally, and to stay present with both so that we can communicate from those places of greater authenticity and reap those benefits personally, but also in our relationships.
So you experienced some things in your life. You went through some of these. Your friend that was an attorney, was aware of some of these types of treatments, and then you got you to go, and then it made a difference in your life, and then that turned into a whole new passion of you going out there and giving that back to others.
I've been real fortunate that I've been able to do that because every day I literally go to bed feeling fortunate and honored to have been able to help people in ways that they weren't being helped.
Well, it does feel good to have experience in something and be able to kind of give that back because other people are out there struggling and suffering sometimes, and to feel like you're making a difference is powerful. Now, you did mention something. You work with men, so you're not working with any women. You're only working with men in your program.
MELD is focused on men, but I do trainings with women. People bring me in to work co-ed situations. My partner's a couples therapist. We do couples intensives. We do workshops. We're doing a big uh, couples retreat down in Costa Rica at the middle of February. So yeah, I do work with women and couples, but MELD, that company is really focused on men and getting them up to speed in what some would call emotional intelligence. I call it more emotional fluency.
Okay. All right. So do you guys do like marriage counseling, or is this more business and life? Like, I guess I'm just trying to clarify what types of things you do and what types of things you don't do for folks, right? Because some of this stuff kind of blends together.
It does. So MELD is just for men, and then the stuff I do with women is sort of either ad hoc because I'm called in to work with women or work with in COVID situations, and then the couples work is a separate, you could call it business from MELD. And I enjoy working with couples because I get to apply, you might say, this technology and everything I've learned with couples, men and women. And because it's such a, in one way, simple and naturalistic approach, both men and women take to it pretty quickly.
Okay, that makes sense. When you're working with these folks, primarily men, what are some of the things that they're challenged with? What are some of the symptoms? So if somebody's listening to this podcast, what kind of things would you say? Hey, this is what's going on. These are the types of things that we work on with people, and somebody can say, "Hey, that sounds like me. I'm having this issue. I'm thinking this way, or I'm in this place, good or bad." What Talk to us about why people are coming to you and doing what you do.
We get a lot of people because of the relationships. Maybe the relationship at home is not where they want it to be, or the relationships at work isn't affecting their bottom line. Um, and particularly for guys, we haven't had any real effective training in that. And then, as you mentioned earlier, a burnout or this sort of lack of purpose. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, particularly privately in coaching, and generally, they're successful in their business, but two things: they're not nearly successful at home as with their relationship with their family, particularly their partner, and really feeling, you know, as you also mentioned, this sense of purpose or meaning, or this ability to feel like they're really contributing. So they've mastered success and other things that are part of that, but they feel this sense of disconnected from maybe themselves, from a deeper sense of meaning, and often, at home, particularly with a primary relationship.
Yeah, with entrepreneurs, business leaders, some things that I've noticed in my coaching practice is sometimes, they're high achieving kind of people, and sometimes they get into this place of, well, I've achieved my goals. Now what? Now I'm bored. There's like almost like this, it's never good enough kind of mindset, right? And they're always chasing something, always looking for something, always looking to, climb the next mountain, and they are good at most of the work stuff, but that balance, right? They get almost like they're addicted to success or something. They're addicted to achieving something, and they're just always on the hunt for that. Do you see that a lot of with a lot of the folks you work with?
I do, and I have had for decades, and I think, as you were also inferring, that I mean that's a setup for burnout, because we're trained to think, we just work harder, push harder, and we'll be happier or achieve more, and that will be fulfilling. And yeah, we need money, and we all like challenges, but we reach a place of diminishing returns because we start to realize maybe there's more in life, or should be more in life, and it wears us out. And it wears us out because, yes, it's stressful, but it's not always that renewing. And what I've seen with so many people, more often with men, but I've seen it with women too, is that it's almost as if they get addicted to adrenaline and cortisol. I mean, it's the stress is self-perpetuating, and a lot of them are very athletic, which they think can be a stress reducer, which maybe in the moment it is, but often it's just a stress exhaustion phenomenon. But they're not so much relaxed; it's just tired. But when someone is really, whatever, connected to themselves, and they're not in a chronic stress state, um, the body starts to have a lot more resources, and those resources are naturally able to be allocated to everything from healing to connection, more intimate connection, and creativity, and a deeper sense of meaning. Because again, we're not trained to even understand a little on how to uh, achieve this kind of ephemeral connection with ourselves. And the biggest sort of missing link there is that we're not trained how to connect to our somatic experience, our body, and just a little physiology. We all know that we have two stress responses: fight or flight, and there's a third one that more people are becoming aware of, which is a freeze response. So when an animal can't run and it can't fight, we default to an older, deeper reptilian kind of behavior of just pretending we're dead. And you'll see pictures or videos on the internet of particularly animals, coming out of that freeze response when the predator or the threat's gone and they're not injured. They literally stand up and tremble, shake it off, and they're fine. They've reset themselves. They have no PTSD. But what's happened to us, either major trauma, but in most cases it's what I call micro trauma or stress, we never get to release that. So we just slowly accumulate that stress literally in our body, in our soft tissue in particular. And that starts to become a default behavior pattern. So even if we're having a non-stressful event, a pleasurable event, our physiology is behaving as if it's a stress event and we're not releasing it. And so we just build that up. And that's in many ways, and now the research is supporting this, the cause of a lot of illnesses, particularly something like a heart attack. The guy might be in great physical shape, and I've seen this with men in particular. I had a friend of mine 6 months ago die like this, in great shape, starting his own business, now like in the sweetest spot of his life. And I text him at, I don't know, late at night. He responds to me like at midnight. And the next thing I get is an email from his wife that he died that night. And I was the last person to communicate with him. And I was on his case. I said, Wayne, just because you're an athlete, and you got to deal with your diet, and you got to deal with your stress, and they're going to kill you. And he'd just joke with me. He'd laugh it off. And it killed him.
Yeah. Well, that's sad that people kind of take those things for granted, especially men. We're strong, we're tough, we're kind of, just got egos, whatever you want to call it. We just tough it out in many, many instances. We don't think about it, don't allow ourselves to think about it, and really be honest and truthful about how things are impacting us, things that are weighing us down mentally or physically or whatever. I think, devalue, rest and sleep and putting your body at ease, right? And there's kind of like a confidence thing there, right? Where you're just confident in yourself. You are in a good place, you're in a good rhythm, and people just a lot of people in this day and age that I see are just kind of jittery. They're just kind of just have a hard time just being at peace with themselves and relaxing in where they're at and who they are, and being confident in that. And so I wanted to ask you, you work with a lot of different people out there in broader ways. What are some of the things going on out there in the world around us are these things increasing? Are people getting more stressed, more demotivated, more burnout? What's driving some of that? And are we going the right direction, the wrong direction? I guess, what's your kind of broader opinion on these things holistically?
All that, and that sounds a little trite, but I think in one way we're getting worse. With our diet and junk food and stress. But I've been in this for decades, so but I do see a resurgence or a new wave of interest in not just performance enhancement, which is good, but performance enhancement in terms of like biohacking, how to get the most out of your body, but really going even further. Now, functional medicine is really taken off, and that's sort of the new version of holistic medicine. And they're really sort of combining the best of allopathic or standard medicine with the more innovative, science-based, holistic approaches, and really creating some significant change for people and addressing some constitutional issues. So all that's starting to change. Is an excellent book out called Good Energy by a Stanford physician named Casey Means, where she really unpacks all this, particularly the diet and why we're stuck with the diet that we have and what we need to do about that. And that book and everything around that is getting a lot of attention. So that's starting to shift. And then we have the stress component. And part of the stress component is what I call the connection component. And we all need connection. We're hardwired for survival, which is that stress response, but we're also hardwired for connection. And that's what attachment theory, which is no longer theory, talks about. And it's been proven that we need authentic connection. And authentic connection downregulates our stress, disconnection upregulates it, which was the whole basis of emotional focus therapy and all the research related to that. And so I think in general, we're going further away from authentic connection or real connection. I mean, through a lot of the institutions like churches and other organizations are just dissolving away for different reasons. And we're often being filled with what I call junk connection. Like we have junk food, we have junk connection, which which in many ways is social media. We might have thousands of friends on social media, but as Esther Perel, a friend of mine, says, but yeah, I have, she has literally millions of friends, but I don't have anyone to watch my cat. And it's like, we don't have the close connections that we have. We have a lot of these sort of superficial connections, which we sort of fool ourselves in thinking that's enough, but it's not enough. And when, like in the work that I do, particularly with MELD, is we support men in doing that. And we also support them in having their own ongoing free men's group. And I've been doing that for 30 years. And that's really where I started. And my last new model for men's work and men's groups started 20 years ago. I started a small group in Sandpoint, Idaho, where I was living up near the Canadian border in a town of 8,000. Well, in less than a month, it'll be 20 years. Over 500 men have been in this group. We got over 60 guys in the current group, or groups actually. And I'm in one group, and it's a group of expats. It's a Zoom group. And they've done studies on us. They've done documentary films on us. This model has just expanded on its own because, beyond other things, these men want connection. We need real authentic connection. And when we learn how to do it, and it's intrinsic in us, there's some unlearning, maybe more than learning, but when we have that opportunity to have these emotionally safe spaces on a regular basis, it's been shown to significantly change our stress physiology, our relationships, and just our happiness.
Yeah. I've noticed a trend, especially in the men's areas. There's a lot more folks that I'm seeing out there. They're like going to these, I don't know if it was from the Yellowstone TV show or not, but there, a lot of dude ranches have gotten really, really popular where you go out and you can be on this ranch and you're out west somewhere and you can kind of play cowboy for a while and have, some beans and meat on a campfire out on the range and, just kind of connect in just different ways like that. I see, groups out there, more Christian based groups. I think it's called Rise Up Kings or something like that, where they bring people together and they go through, they, kind of, go through obstacle courses and just come together and work as a team, get to know each other, talk about things, and they facilitate conversations. And I think I've seen a lot more of that kind of stuff crop up, which I think is good. I mean, I think most of these things are really good and ways to bring people out of their day to day cubicles, out of their homes, out of their whatever. Because I think a lot of people, from my opinion, we've gotten used to Zoom calls and working remotely, and that's all fine and well, but I just think the dynamics of the world we live in, I think social media, I think the news and the media is a whole and how they portray things. I just think a lot of those things create a lot of anxiety and stress. We have access to so much information now about other things in the world, other people in the world, and oh, well, they've got 4 million followers. I've only got 1 million, right? There, and we compare ourselves to other people and their successes or their relationships or their popularity or their money or whatever that may be. And it's almost like created this um kind of false world we live in that we're comparing ourselves to that's not even realistic, and then that makes us feel inferior to where we have to work harder, we have to work longer, we have to go out and do more things and achieve more stuff, and it's like a cycle of stress. I mean, are you seeing the same things the same way, or am I seeing it the wrong way?
I think you're seeing it correctly because I would say I'm seeing it. So we're both prejudiced around that, and yeah, I think it's part of what we're talking about. Stress. We're hungry for connection, and when we don't have what we want, we go for more of what we have, and hoping that that's going to give us what we want. But what's that definition of insanity? you know,
Right.
right. So I
Doing
to get back
something over and over and not
right.
getting the same result, right? Yeah.
Right, and in part of that is everyone that we're sort of traveling with is, going in that same stream in the same direction, and we're looking because we compare, and maybe guys do it more than women, or at least do it differently. Yeah, I think women do it, but it's different. And it becomes a competitive thing. Guys innately are competitive, which is not a bad thing. It starts to become a limiting thing when that's just that. Um, but I think to go to your earlier thing, yeah, we are hungry for experience, and the research shows this. And I have a good friend of mine that's actually a French gentleman that is the go-to guy in the world for bracelets. He makes these amazing, very expensive bracelets. He has a special hinge and all this other stuff, and he's doing well. But he's talking to other top jewelers around the world, and he was saying that they're seeing a decline in their business. And I sort of saw that, I read about it in other places, and people are going to experiences. The younger generation, particularly, I should say, are not spending on material things, from cars to jewelry to whatever, and they're spending on experience. And we're seeing that. We do retreats. They're not confrontational or deprivational. They're in a good way intense, and we teach our skills. But guys hunger for that because they want to get out of town. They want to be in a beautiful setting, and they want to connect with men in an authentic way. And they realize, and this is something that's true for guys, we need a process. We need a container. Like, women can just sit down, talk to a woman they never met, within 2 minutes have a deep conversation. If we even talk to another guy, we're not even looking at him. We're both looking in the same direction, and we're probably talking about sports, maybe politics, or business, and we get a little competitive or whatever. But women, they start having a real conversation. That said, what I've found is it flips. When you put guys in a situation where they know what the rules of engagement are, like confidentiality, this physical space feels emotionally safe, and one guy just takes a little bit of a stretch and gets a little vulnerable, and rather than get shamed or looked down upon like he would out there, he's actually honored. Everything changes. Then guys actually get a little competitive. They start competing. Well, if Jason could reveal this, I'm going to reveal this, and I'm going to be more emotional. It's like we're doing a training at the end of the next month, and it's not going to be 60 guys, but we've had 60 or more guys in a room, and we go around in a big circle. And by the end of the circle, this guy's just quickly checking in, and they get more and more vulnerable or open as they start to realize this is a safe place. I can say and feel things I've never felt and said, and I can relate to other people or other men saying the similar thing, because out there at work or at home or at the bar or on the golf course, I can't have these real conversations. We are hungry. We're starving for authentic conversations. And so, to sort of wrap it up, the two unique things about the work that I developed is that it's based on what I call soma-aware, the emotional physiology of the body, and we can talk about that. And it's also based on the communal factor, on connection. And as men in particular, we need like our own little tribe. We need that tribal experience. When we have it, when it's emotionally safe and authentic, men blossom. We get guys all the time that say at the end, I didn't believe any of this. And I kept on sitting next to the door because, I'm ready to leave at any moment. But oh my God, this is amazing. I can't believe this, and I want to hug you all. It's some men just open up immediately. Others, they take their time. That's fine. But we all need that kind of connection. And when we get it, it's like we're getting this nutrient that we've been deprived of. And that nutrient feeds us in a way that, at home, we're more present. At work, we're more present. We start to connect to something that is more meaningful in us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really powerful. I think in those situations, you find that you're not alone, right? You hear other people sharing their testimony or talking about certain things, and you're like, I can relate to that. I was there. I experienced, and you lose that sense of, feel sorry for me. I'm alone in the world. You're not alone. most other men or other people have experienced similar types of things at certain times and have gone through things that you can relate to. Um, and it just helps you realize the broader context of what's going on in the world versus us getting kind of siloed in our own world, our own work, our own family, our own kind of day-to-day life that we live in. And it's kind of containerized. And we sometimes believe that, you're kind of alone in this space and you're the only one that feels this way. And when I go to church, sometimes I'll go to church and I'll sit there and I'll listen to the message, and they'll share a testimony of somebody, that's going through something, or, they'll share a story from the Bible of whatever they're talking about, right? And there's many times I walk out of church and I'm thinking, I came in here feeling a certain way about, stressed about, my kids going off to college, or, I'm stressed about, something going on at work, or a new boss that came in, or whatever that may be. And when I leave feeling like, my life is pretty darn good. Like there's other people suffering from cancer, and there's other people, that are putting themselves out there and sharing their testimonies, and you realize that the world is not as big as you thought it was. It's really we're not really alone out there. We all face some of the same things at different times. So talk to us about how you work with people. You've got this MELD, MELD, this MELD framework that you use. And so if somebody's feeling stressed, somebody's lost in the world, somebody's, just overwhelmed by things and just out of balance and just not in a good place, and they're looking for connection, they're looking for more happiness and more confidence in themselves or whatever, and they come to you, call you, knock on your door, whatever. Like, how do you work with people? What is that experience like? Kind of walk us through your process of how you help people figure things out and figure out a better way, I guess.
Um, well, to start with, just to pick up on what you were saying earlier, because when the COVID hit, we went virtual because we were doing most of our stuff live, and so we do these big calls from literally guys from all over the world. We do like a Zoom breakout, and guys would be in a little breakout room with guys they've never met before, and they come back after 10 minutes and say, "I thought I was the only one." This is sort of goes to what you're saying.
That's a common thing people are telling you in these forums.
Yeah, I mean, just strangers coming back that we don't know and they don't know anyone, but we just set them up, give them a little prompt. They're in a little Zoom breakout with maybe 3 or 4 other guys. They all share and they come back and go, I thought I was the only one. How can I get this guy's name? I just said things to him and he said things to me that, decades I haven't said or heard. So we are hungry for that. So that's sort of the seed. Guys, we get our change through experience. Yes, we teach some of the science, and I've studied with the top people, and so we bring that in. But really, it's experience, and it's an experience of their body. So we have different programs and skills and exercises that we use that guys quickly relate to and are able to utilize, and how to connect to their somatic or physical experience in the moment, or exercises they can do at home that just increases that skill, and through neuroplasticity it starts to become more of the default. So we teach them that, which lowers their stress and gives them more resiliency and capability at home or in work. But we also give them an opportunity in our trainings or in our groups to practice these skills. So you can learn them, you can experience them, but to really embody them and to grow with them, you got to practice. And what I've seen over the years is that we can teach it, they can experience it, and we can say and support them, go out in life and practice it. And they do whatever, but it's sort of like, giving you a basketball, Jason, and saying, go, you never played, go play with these guys on the court. well, you wouldn't do too well and you probably wouldn't go on. Now, no, I don't play basketball, but if I was someone that did and could train you, I'd train you how to, dribble, how to shoot, all that. And then you go out on the court and you'd feel confident and you'd play with these guys. So what we essentially do is we create these different kinds of spaces through groups and courses where these guys get a chance to not just learn, but to practice with other men. And what men realize is that we're all at the same level, certainly in the beginning. And so quickly, guys stop competing. They actually support. They stop judging, particularly themselves and really other guys. And they realize that, okay, I'm going to make some mistakes here as I learn this, but I need to practice. And learning it can actually be fun. And they also realize in me, if we're in a group and we're showing up and you're sharing something and just having you share it, learn something, and I give you some feedback and say, Jason, when you talked about your father, it reminded me of my father and how I miss him and this and that. And so my showing up, say in this group for 20 years, and maybe I don't work that night or I just show up and I support men, I have this sense of value that me being who I am makes a difference for you and other men. And we don't think about that because we often don't have those opportunities in our life where, who we are as a person is a value to other people.
So is part of this like, is there like when people first come in, is there like a class they're going through? Is there just some sessions, to assess them, understand what's going on with them and what kind of where to start with them? Is it kind of stuff that's kind of tailored to them? Based on their needs and where they're at and where they're feeling, or is it just plugging them into a group, or kind of like I kind of imagine like an AA group. If you're struggling with alcoholism or something, you go to the group. Hey, I'm Jason, and I'm an alcoholic, and I have these issues, and I'm here to meet with you. So people is it something like that as well, where people are like, yeah, I'm struggling with perfectionism or something, and I'm here to let go and not be as perfect all the time. How does that work?
Well, we do it in different ways. And I've been doing it for 30 years, so I learned a lot. So, we don't do that anymore. We don't do that anymore. We got a lot more effective and efficient. So, what we generally recommend to men is that they do what we call our core course. And now it's a 10-week online course, 2 hours every Wednesday. And you're in there with guys from all over the world. And it's, not a big course. And we walk you through these things that we've developed. These principles are based on science. And this course has been studied in a couple year study that was in the last year published in the APA journal. Huge study proving its efficacy and everything else. So it's a legitimate course that I first developed 10 years ago, and it's really evolved. And we give you that. We give you something to do. So everyone comes in. They're all different, but on one level, they're all the same. So we don't do an intake form or intake interviews. We just put you there, and you have little exercises you do. And as the course progresses, less exercise and less teaching and more interaction. And so we give you the skills that you need to interact in a new way. And so it's just more effective. And of course, nothing's perfect and nothing's for everyone, but for the guys that we attract, it's like 99% effective. And if it's not, great, you don't do it. But we've done some of our own research. We sort of found out what guys really need, what they say they need and what they really need. And we address that right from the get-go. And because we're addressing it, guys open up and they share, and then they create their own connection or group, and we move on from there. So we also have an intense 12-week small group coaching I lead. We have retreats. We're doing that one in February. We have professional trainings where we train lay people, coaches, therapists, psychiatrists in this technology, in these skills. And they go off and either start a profession or use it to enhance their current profession. And then we work with corporations like Google and Google X, and taking these principles and these skills into the corporation.
That is fascinating. So they come in, you put them in a course, and once they go through the course, it's some of the science, some of the medical components to it, just to kind of have a baseline of knowledge and understand what's going on and where you're at and why it's that way and the impacts of that. And then it gravitates into more group engagement. And then from there, once that 10-week course is over, then you've got these other retreats, you've got these other men's groups you can put people in and check in and talk to each other on a weekly or whatever basis. And there's kind of a longer term thing. Like once you meet some people and you get to know them and you're sharing some personal things, you have ways to facilitate that for a long-term engagement, is I guess as long as they want to, it sounds like.
Right. And so I started out doing these groups. They've been life changing. Literally, men have said, gone on record and gone on this documentary film, if it wasn't for the group, they would have killed themselves. So, I mean, that's sort of the exception, but it's been that much. And again, guys keep showing up. So when I started some of these businesses in the past, we just put guys in groups. And some would be successful, some wouldn't. So then we realized that what we really needed to do was train guys up front in a few ways or a few reasons. And then we, as you were saying, they do this 10-week course, and, say we're in a subgroup and we connect, we go, I want to continue. And so then we support you. We give you a protocol. We give you all this stuff for free to go off and do your own group. It's your group. Do what you want with it. You've learned these skills. We'll give you more to support you. But we believe in the ongoing support that one of these high-level groups provide. I mean, I've worked with guys that were in EO, YPO. I mean, and I even did a training for an EO group. And what I've found is, there's business support, but what they really value is the emotional support. And that's where we hone in. We not only give you the support, we teach you emotional skills that, you embody, but then you start going out, at home or at work, and because they're just innate for you, you start teaching these skills to others. And I've been privately coaching for years, and most of the guys come because, their edges are with relationships. Most of them are entrepreneurs. We'll say in about 3 months, the relationship has turned around, and then they just find that without even trying, they're applying this technology at work, and work's getting easier and more effective. So they go, "Oh, and can we just work on my business now?" I go, "Yeah, we'll just build on these skill sets and apply them to work." Because it's about creating emotional or psychological safety at work. It's building connection through co-regulation, and all these things that we've sort of taught more around primary relationships are appropriate in the workplace.
Yeah, especially with leaders and entrepreneurs, because they take that and then their behavior changes, their thinking changes, their confidence changes, their attitude. Like everything changes when you go through something like that, which ultimately they go back to the workplace and started, being an example of those kind of things. And they start implementing these kind of principles into the workforce. And obviously it, changes the culture, it impacts things in a positive way. If you wouldn't mind, I mean, got a few minutes here on the show. Give us like a story. You don't obviously we don't want to know names and all this kind of stuff, but give us a story of somebody that came to you, is in a tough place, struggling with some things, and some of the things you worked on, some of the things they went through, some of the things they learned, some of the light bulb moments, and kind of how did they leave? How did they exit that? And what did they benefit from? And kind of that transformation of going in one headspace, and they go through your programs and treatments and things, and how they were better. To give us an example, give us a story about that.
Yeah, I got a lot. I think the one that pops up is a fellow that was actually in Europe, and I forgot how he found me, but he was a private coaching client, and he actually flew out for a weekend and did one of our trainings several years ago. And he came to me primarily like most guys because his relationship at home and with his wife and his kids, and it just wasn't working. And of course, he was stressed at work, and he worked for a big international SaaS company. And yeah, it started to turn around, and the kids that were, that were sort of, he was fighting with, he started really developing relationships with them, and he shifted his relationship with his wife. But what was interesting, I'll call him Sam. What was interesting with Sam is that he worked for me like weekly for about 6 months, and then we sort of spread it out after that because the stuff at home was shifted, but then he wanted me to use me at work. I forgot where he started out. He was in the finance department, but within 2 years, he was a senior vice president, a director of a whole huge department for this company. I mean, I used to tease him. I said, so he's like, he was one step below being the CEO. And it was all because, he was bright, but, his stress, how he was dealing with things was taking him out. And, it's not, his job wasn't in threat, but yeah, he was stuck. He was frustrated with his work. And then, as he worked with me, he got more relaxed, more confident. And I supported him and going, hey, Sam, yeah, trust your intuition, trust this, you're good, and there was that kind of level of support, but we would sort of unpack the relational dynamics and the emotional dynamics at work, like what's your part of this? What can you shift that will shift the relationship? So he had some tough bosses, but because he shifted, they would shift, and then they'd promoted him, and then he'd get another challenge, and he'd shift, and they'd promote him again. I mean, I started teasing. I said, "When are you going to get your next promotion?" And yeah, of course, his salary went up, and he bought this amazing house. And he never would have imagined that would have been possible in the beginning. And part of what I helped him do, because he did it, was really sort of carve away all the stress and negative beliefs, and I'm sure the things that you work with, where who he really was just had the ability to flourish and show up, and then part of it was not taking himself out with his success. So not going, not keeping these sort of glass ceilings that we often get. Well, this is as good as I am or good as I can be, and I would support and challenge him. I go, yeah, okay. Do you want to start here? No. Okay. So it's not about making more money. It's more about, growing yourself, getting that next challenge, and see what that challenge is going to do for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I read a quote one time that said, the best thing you can do to impact your kids, your spouse, your coworkers, anybody around you, the best thing you can do for anybody is improve yourself. Because if you improve yourself, then that, has an effect on your kids. You're showing up different. You're thinking different. You are aware of things more. You are considering other perspectives differently, whatever that may be, right? So, if you want to make a difference, if you want to, have better relationships and communications and, connect with people on deeper levels and, achieve these other kind of things, the best thing you can do for the other people around you that love you, care about you, and maybe want to connect with you better as well is just work on yourself, show up differently, think differently. And you're doing some amazing things, man. Thank you, Owen, for being on the show, taking time out of your busy schedule of coaching people and training people in the medical and physiological side of things, really getting on that deeper level, kind of getting the crowbar out and cracking into the real level of things that's really at that foundational level that's really driving who people are, how they think, their insecurities, their perceptions of things, right, wrong, or indifferent, and really getting people to be honest, getting people to be authentic, kind of put down those walls of perception they want everybody to perceive them as, and just be confident to be their authentic self. Like there's nothing wrong with you. God created you a very certain way with certain gifts and talents, and the world needs those. And finding a place where you can inject those and serve people around you with those things, I think, really helps people bring out the best in them. It really connects to their passions, and they have the value they can bring. I think at the end of the day, I think, feel free to disagree with me if you do, but to me, with people at a foundational level, people want to make a difference. People want to do good in the world. They want to feel like they did something positive. And if they don't have that connection to whatever those things are, boy, it can really cause them some challenges. So great work, man. I commend you for all the great things you're doing, all the people you're helping, and, seeing other people go out and do good things and start groups and help other people. It's kind of like the pebble in the pond kind of an effect. And that's powerful. That's a legacy of some amazing things. And so if people want to get to know you, they want to connect with you, talk with you, maybe go through your courses and coaching and all of those things, what's the best way for them to do that?
Really, the best way is to go to our website, which is MELD, MELD .community. So it's MELD.community spelled out. There's different places on that site where you can just book a free call with one of us, and we'd be happy to talk to you. So or you certainly connect us in other ways. We have a free membership for men, there's newsletters. We're just starting a podcast in the next week or two. What else? Social media, we're on all the platforms. So yeah, we want to help men. We want to give men a good ROI, because I agree with what you're saying, Jason, that the best investment we can make for ourselves and really for others is in taking care of ourselves in this way. And I know as men, and I learned this in my clinic, we tend not to want to invest in ourselves. We'll invest in others. We'll invest in our business. We might even invest in some toys, but it's hard for most guys to invest in their health and in their physical and emotional health. And you said it real well. I mean, it's really the best investment we can make. And, we'll find a way to work with you. We have a lot of different ways. Some are free and some that, we charge for. So yeah, it's been an honor to be here. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, I think a big takeaway is, for men or even women that are listening to the show, if you don't take care of yourself holistically, nobody else is going to do it for you. If you don't take care of yourself, then you're diminishing the value that you can provide to your family, your coworkers, to the world, your community around you. And so if you want to be a great person, you want to do good things in the world, you want to make a difference, you want to add value, you want to be a part of something bigger than yourself, then take care of yourself first. It's okay to take care of yourself first. If you don't, you will not be able to take care of others. And so, thank you again for being on the show. Awesome work you're doing. Highly recommend Owen to anybody out there that's listening to the show. Amazing work. And so that's it for today's show, everybody. Next week, we've got a great one in store for you as well. We're going to be talking to two people about marriage and entrepreneurship, how married people that are also business owners and leaders can work together and live together without killing each other at the same time. That is a very complicated set of things that many people out there in this world are experiencing, and we've got experts on the show next week that's going to navigate us through that and hopefully help us with some of those challenges that a lot of folks out there are challenged with. So have a great week, everybody. Look forward to seeing you next time.